We're live.
Looks like we're on. We're on air.
Oh, thank you, everyone. We've actually done half of the presentations for today, and it has been jam-packed with amazing insights. And I'm so excited to hear your session because I didn't get to go to Call to Action conference this year, which is why I asked you to do this presentation, because I know it is amazing. So yeah, Claire is fantastic. I'm going to let her introduce herself and just get straight into it. If you guys have any questions, post them on the right-hand side of the screen in the chat box. Okay, yeah, take it away.
Looking so forward to it. Thanks, Talia. So that was super exciting to hear coming from Talia, who I'm a fangirl of. Hey, everyone. So let's see, I can go ahead and share my screen just briefly, but for some quick context, if you're curious, who is this person? So my name's Claire. Let's see, if I turn on my video, hey Maria! If I turn on my video.
There you go. Oops, yeah. I turned it off.
I'm like, so I'll share my screen in just a second. But all right, so up until the top of this year, I actually worked in marketing in-house. Hey Ashley, I worked in-house in marketing for a company called Calendly. They're a scheduling tool, still love them, still use it every day. But I knew that there was a big problem, especially in the world of online businesses, software companies. And it's that a lot of people might be selling something really cool, but they don't always really know if they're marketing it right. They don't know if they're talking to their audience in a way their audience wants to hear. A lot of which is super relevant to the talk Joanna just gave, by the way. So these will play together really nicely. So what I see a lot is that people who are running really awesome companies don't always have the tools they need to figure out who their audience is and what's going on in their customers' heads. And so they create something really, they create something that's supposed to be helpful in communicating with customers. At this point, I can share my screen, and I'm going to show you something that most of us in here are probably familiar with. Where's my share screen button? Screen share, there we go. All right, so is everyone able to see this nice little sample Sally persona? Can I get in the chat just like a yes?
Yeah,
okay, cool. People are saying that. Excellent. So who in their lives has ever put together a persona like this or used a persona like this for work? Anyone done this? Yep. Okay, cool. So, okay. So sample Sally here. We as marketers, as writers, as optimizers, we tend to rely on personas like this to help us get an idea of who it is we're speaking to, right? And how we need to communicate with them. The problem is that there's a really, really key piece of information that's missing in these old school personas. And today we're going to actually look at what that key piece of information is, and we're going to put these old school personas to a little bit of a test. Okay. So instead of using sample Sally for our test, we're actually going to make a persona together out of my friend Melanie. So this is my friend Melanie. She works in marketing, which is why I've named her Marketing Melanie. It's really helpful that her name begins with M. And I actually would love for you to commit what's kind of a huge sin when it comes to presentations. Open up another tab and look at Melanie on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, these things, these links here that I'm sharing, because I want to know from you guys what kind of persona data we can find on her. So some things I'm looking for specifically are like how old you might guess she is. Anyone want to wager a guess of how old Melanie might be? And if you're still searching, that's also okay. 28, 27, yep, okay, great. Everyone's, okay, yeah, we're in the perfect range. So she's in that like mid-20s to early 30s range, right? So we've got that. What about where she works? Because I know we know that Sample Sally here works as head of human resources. So what kind of job does Melanie have? What kind of company does she work at? Cool, so I see Emily's writing Full Story, and that's correct. So Full Story is a software company. So Melanie works in tech. She's a tech marketer in her mid-20s, early 30s. So you could say she's a millennial marketer if we want to get really goofy and really out there right now. Conducting research to better understand and improve. Yep, okay, so people are like finding exactly what Melanie does, which is awesome. Anything else we know about her? Maybe like where she lives, for example. Anything else that's good for, yep, she's an ATL, correct. I'm also an ATL, yay Atlanta. Lives in the burbs, yep, she loves her house in the suburbs. I hope no one finds Melanie's address. She knows I'm doing this, by the way. So if you want to follow her and say hi, like you're welcome to. She knows what's going on. Okay, so cool. So we've got some great persona information about Melanie, which is fantastic. We know she's a marketer, a product marketer specifically at Full Story, which is a software or SaaS company. We know that she's a woman in her late 20s, early 30s. She lives in the burbs of Atlanta. She also has a super cute dog. We didn't really get into that detail, but I added it here because her dog is really cute. So we know this about Melanie. We know we've created something really similar to what you and I have created for work, for years. So can we answer this question? With this information we have on Melanie, why did she buy this specific backpack, which is called, I believe if I can read the tiny text, the Modern Snap Backpack from Everlane. So this is maybe for her commute. Okay, so we're getting into some guesses, right? But I like that Emily in the chat wrote LOL, maybe for her commute. I think that's really indicative of what the issue is here. Like we have all this information, but we're making total guesses as to why she bought a backpack, which I think is really, which really goes along with what Joanna mentioned in her talk right before this, which is when it comes to copy, so many people just guess or they just wait for words to show up on the page out of their brain. Carries her dog. It might have carried the dog when it was a puppy. But we don't really know. We don't know whether it's because of how it looks. We don't know whether it's because it fits her laptop, whether it was a gift, whether it was, we don't know, we don't really know what motivated Melanie to buy this backpack. We have some assumptions, but we don't actually have the information. And because we don't have the actual answer, we don't know why Melanie really bought this backpack, we can't, if we're working for a competitor company, we can't go sell to Melanie very effectively, nor can we take this backpack and go try to sell it to other people like Melanie, because we don't know what's really motivating her. We know her demographics. We know who she is as a person, in that she's a female in her late 20s who lives in the city or the suburbs and works in a tech job, but we don't know why she makes buying decisions. So that's where our old school customer personas are failing us right now. They're telling us a lot of surface stuff, but why we couldn't ask her. So we'll get into that in a second, why we're not asking her. But the problem is that day to day, when we're going about our lives in our roles, whether it's writing, whether it's designing landing pages or whole campaigns or writing emails, if we're only relying on the demographics of someone and we don't actually know, we haven't been able to ask our real life customers why they decided to make these purchases, then we're missing out on their motivations. So our old school personas give us the wrong data because they don't tell us what our customers are actually motivated by. This is a long topic and I tend to get pretty rambly, so I just stuck a little further reading link in here. And on the very last slide, there will be a link to download all of these if you want to refer back to them later. So now it's time to actually address what Nathan wrote here, which is, why can't we just ask her? And the answer to that is, we totally are going to. So to figure out those motivations, right? To figure out why Melanie made this purchase so we can make smarter decisions as marketers and better sell to people like Melanie, we actually have to step out of the marketing department for a second, and we have to walk over into the product department. So in the product world, there's a theory called jobs to be done that's been gaining a lot of traction lately. So I know that there's like a way to do polls in Crowdcast. I'm not exactly sure how to set one up on the fly. So I'll just keep relying on chat. Who here is familiar with jobs to be done as a concept? I can get just like a yes or a no, that's perfectly fine. Because I'm just kind of curious about, okay, I'm getting a no, okay, cool. So a pretty even mix. I'm getting a lot of both yeses and nos, which is awesome. So we have a lot to cover, which is great. So jobs to be done originally was a theory for developing products, but today we're going to talk about how you can use it to better understand who your customers are. I heard about it the first time when okay, cool. This is so much fun. Okay, so jobs to be done as a theory is that people buy and use a product because they want to make themselves better in particular ways. It's not, the theory here behind jobs to be done is that people don't buy a product because they just love the product or because they even just love the brand. It's all about themselves and making themselves better. So let's unpack that a little bit. Let's talk about what a job is and what getting that job done really means. So a job is your customer's struggle to make progress on something. And we all have struggles in our lives, right? So one of my biggest struggles ongoing that I still haven't found a solution for is being able to get out of bed on time. No matter how early I try to go to sleep, no matter, whether I've done so many things. I've bought blackout curtains. I've bought one of those really nice, like light up alarm clocks that's supposed to play like nature sounds and stuff and not be jarring. I've tried to go to sleep earlier. I've tried to do all these things, but I'm still struggling to get up in the morning and get to work on time. So for me, that's a job that I haven't quite gotten done yet. So your customers, the people who are buying from you, are also feeling struggles, and they're buying your products because they're trying to make progress in some way. And their jobs are done when they've made progress as desired. So by the concept of making progress, you can also think of this as they're not struggling anymore. They bought your product and they overcame the struggle, and now they can move on with their lives. So my job is not really done. I really appreciate that I'm getting recommendations of the Sleep Cycle app. I'm gonna have to go look that up after this because I am in some serious struggle mode right now. So let's break down what happens a lot in marketing, which is that many of our campaigns, much of our copy, much of our really overall strategies don't always focus on these jobs and helping our customers get them done. So jobs, here's a couple of things jobs are not that you see a lot in marketing. So jobs are not the physical characteristics or features of your product. So what it's actually made of, if it's a physical product, or what cool things it does if it's a software product or a digital product. It's also not the literal activities that people do when they use your product. So if we use that alarm clock scenario, that alarm clock I just mentioned as an example, the activities that I engage in when I'm trying to use that alarm clock are turning it on, setting a time that I want to wake up at, making sure it's going to play the right noise in the morning. Those are the literal activities I'm engaging in as a customer and someone who's purchased that. And that's not really what I'm trying to accomplish, right? That's not what I want done. And then the functionality, which is what your product does, is also not a job. So the functionality of a gentle wake up alarm clock is that it slowly in the morning turns on a light for gradually over about 30 minutes of time, and then it starts playing bird noises. So those things specifically are also not the ultimate reason I bought that product. I'll actually put this into a better example, and then we'll look at some more. Okay, I'll slow down, but I'll put this into a better example by using a friend of mine's story. So my friend Alan recently bought a drill, right? So I was showing my husband these slides earlier, and he was making fun of me because I had some really high tech fancy drill originally on this slide, and he was like, no one would ever buy that unless they were a super special contractor. And I was like, fine, I'll find a drill that looks more normal. But my friend Alan recently bought a drill. And if we go through what jobs are not, we can go through the reasons that he probably didn't decide to buy this drill. He didn't buy it because of the physical characteristics of the drill. He didn't buy it because it's made of plastic and it has a cord and there's some metal sticking out. If you take those apart, if you pick those things apart, they're not actually valuable by themselves, right? That's not what motivates someone to make a purchase. Alan also didn't buy the literal activities that he engages in when he uses the drill, which are pushing on this lever and pushing holes into the wall. So those also are not valuable all by themselves. And finally, he didn't buy the functionality of a drill, which is actually creating holes in your wall, right? Like that's what a drill does, but those holes alone are not really motivating. And this is actually a little bit controversial because many very smart business people have said the opposite for years. So Theodore Levitt, who was once the editor of, I believe, Harvard Business Review, much smarter than me, is known for saying people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. But that's not the case for Alan. So if Alan had just wanted a 1/4-inch hole, he wouldn't have needed to go to the store and put down his credit card to make a purchase. He wouldn't have needed to become a customer. He could have borrowed a family member's drill, right? He could have borrowed a next door neighbor's drill. He could have taken a hammer and shoved a hole in the wall. You know, it wasn't really the hole itself that Alan was motivated to make a purchase for. Talia says they want to put a photo up, and yes, we're moving in the right direction there. So why did Alan actually buy this drill? What motivated him? So the only reason I know this story is because he and I were having this conversation in real life about a month ago. This is a true story. So Alan and his wife recently moved into a new place. So they moved into this new place and they have lots of home improvement projects. A lot of it does have to do with hanging decorations. There's some shelf building. There's a lot of projects that need a drill. Those projects all alone weren't motivators to get Alan to buy a drill. So for a long time, what he was doing was just borrowing his father-in-law's drill. And he didn't have to pay for anything at all. But what he had to do was go through a struggle every time he needed to use the drill. First, he had to call his father-in-law, and he had to see if his father-in-law was home. And if he was home, that's great. Then they had to coordinate when he could come get it. If he wasn't home, then he had to play phone tag. And then he eventually, a day or two later, 2 days later, 3 days later, he finally had to go over, get the drill, come back home, do the project, and do it all over again to drop the drill off. And this happened maybe a dozen times before Alan finally said, man, this really sucks. Like, this is taking me a long time. I don't want to have to deal with other people's schedules. I'm gonna go buy my own drill. So now I see in the chat, we're getting closer to what the pain was, what the real motivator was. So here's the job that Alan had that he needed to get done, or the struggle that he wanted to get over. When I'm working on a house project, I want to stop dealing with other people's schedules so I can have the freedom to improve my home whenever I want to. So yes, as I'm seeing, like Glenn is mentioning, I'm seeing a lot of really good versions of this. Basically, he wanted to have the ability to do it on his own time. He wanted the freedom to work on his home on his schedule. He didn't want to deal with other people. So that's what motivated him. Nothing about the features of the drill, how it looked in relation to other drills. Those things weren't motivators. The motivator was, oh my God, it's such a pain to have to drive to my father-in-law's house over and over. I'm gonna go make a purchase. So this is really, really powerful stuff to know when it comes to conversion, right? If you know why someone started shopping, then you can speak to that pain on your page and they're gonna get it. They're going to understand, oh, these people realize what kind of pain I'm in. I'm gonna listen to them. So I used a formula here. You can see the when I want, and so I can are bolded. So that's repeatable. So when blank, this is the event that triggers that struggle. This is what's going on in that person's life that makes them want to finally make a change. For Alan, it was the constant working on house projects. Help me, for Alan, it was, Alan's was I want. Help me can also be substituted with give me X, make the whatever, take away whatever. I'm just trying to keep this sentence grammatically correct here. But help me something, help me get over this struggle so I can blank. And so I can is again, as we saw, is not just so I can drill a hole in the wall. It's, what was it for him? So I can have the freedom to improve my home whenever I want to. So the idea here is so I can is the better life they envision for themselves, where the struggle doesn't exist anymore. That's what they're trying to get to, and that's what we want to highlight in our marketing. So as another quick demonstration of this, and actually we'll at the end apply it to building a marketing campaign, I'll use an example of a purchase that my husband and I made last year. So we bought a Roomba last year. Here's the Roomba, here's its brother. You can tell which one is the more productive member of the household. But if we take this through that same scenario, right? We know that my husband and I didn't buy a Roomba for what it's made of. Dan says, doesn't he also want a reliable drill? If it's broken, it's a problem. That's super true. We could go on at length about the different layers or the different like layers of considerations people go through when they make a purchase. I'm starting at layer one, which is the very, very beginning, just the thing that's motivating them to go and start shopping. I think, yeah, layer one, cool. So we're getting there. So we know that my husband and I did not buy this Roomba because we wanted a circle of plastic in our house. We also know that we didn't buy it for the activities that we do with a Roomba. The most common one is emptying out the dustbin. The other most common one is rescuing it from under the couch because it gets stuck a lot. Those weren't worth a purchase. And finally, we didn't buy it for the functionality. The functionality can be accomplished by other stuff. It can be accomplished by a vacuum or a regular, a $50 vacuum from Amazon or a broom or a mop. So the functionality didn't motivate us to become Roomba customers. What motivated us, and specifically me, because I championed this purchase, was this. I was launching my own consultancy and I was working really long hours. And so I wanted to be freed from the responsibility of keeping the house clean so that I could relax and recharge when I finally did have some downtime. And I do need to give my husband credit here. Before I make it sound like I do all the housework, we split things pretty 50-50. He's the laundry fairy, for example. Like, I never do the laundry. But vacuuming was a simple purchase. We were a simple purchase away from never having to vacuum again. And so this was, we looked at it and we were like, and I thought, okay, if I made this purchase, then how many hours could I get back of either working on my business or, more importantly, actually getting to relax and recharge? So those internal things that made my life better, those were the motivators that pushed me to go and buy this really expensive Roomba. So now you know this about me. You know that I'm working long hours. I've launched a consultancy recently, and I want you to pretend that you work for Roomba, okay? So you work in their marketing department on optimization, and you're tasked with finding people like me. You know my persona. I don't have a persona of myself. You know my persona is that obviously I'm a cat lady. I am in that same like late 20s, early 30s demographic. You know some of these things about me. I work in software specifically. So you have that, and your job is now to figure out, how do we find more Claires in the world? How do we get more Claires to come buy Roomba from us? How do we make more money from Claires? So you've got two choices to use as the basis of, you've got two image choices to use as the basis of your campaign here. So the first one is this one. This is image A that we're going to debate here. So you could use image A as the basis of your campaign. You know that by demographic, I'm a cat person. Or you could use image B, which speaks to the motivation that I'm feeling, the better life that I envision myself, where we've got this woman in a beautiful home. She's doing the things that I'm doing. She's living the life that I try to live, that I aspire to. And a little robot is doing chores in her absence day in and day out. So if we're speaking to people's motivations, which of these, A or B, do you think is going to be a bit more effective as far as getting me to buy your vacuum? I'm seeing a lot of B's come through here. And the answer is not sure if you would aspire to wear a stuffy suit. That's super true, the stuffy suit thing. I had limited options when I was searching for like Roomba stock photos or Roomba videos. But this one, the idea of like ambition does really appeal to me, even though I'm not super interested in owning this type of suit. The cat allows for a lot of emotion, but the cat isn't getting to the emotion that makes me want to buy something. It's emotion that makes me feel happy about the brand, but when it comes down to the point of purchase, when you're trying to convince me to put down my credit card, and I can see that this is the life this woman lives and she has a Roomba, like, I want to be like that person. That's the life that I want to have. Anyway, I'm seeing actually this is opening up a ton of discussion to how you can apply this with your imagery and in your marketing. So this is a fun idea. Maybe we can open up that discussion, you know, in a future session. Talia, we can get into that. So that could be really fun. But to keep things on track, because we have a lot of good speakers, I'll keep moving forward. We don't need to recap this because you know all of it. But the short thing is your customer's job is, when I'm struggling with this situation, help me overcome my struggle so I can get to this better life that I envision for myself. And even though it's not perfect, this conveys the better life that I'm looking for than this one does. So you can apply this idea of your customer's job all the way across your marketing funnel, which show a relaxing cat while the I like that plan. So you can apply this idea of speaking to your customer's job all the way across your marketing funnel with something that I like to call the RACE framework. And I borrowed this concept from Intercom, and we'll look at what the RACE framework really is using our friend Melanie. So Melanie's job was this. She was planning for a business trip to New York, and she at that time had a kind of a beat up, like more casual backpack, but she knew that backpack wasn't going to represent her in the professional way that she wanted it to when she was in client meetings. But she also knew that she didn't want to go buy something really formal like a briefcase, because then every time she wanted to go out for the evenings, she'd have to go back to her Airbnb, swap out the briefcase for her beat up backpack again, and it would add more friction into her travel experience. So let's break down her when blank, help me blank so I can blank. So here's what was really motivating Melanie to make this purchase. I bought the vacuum, Melanie bought the backpack. So for her, it was, when I'm switching between work and social events, I want something that's gonna free me from the hassle of having to change my look all the time. So someone said versatility earlier and they hit the nail on the head. So I can feel appropriately dressed no matter where life takes me. So she had this vision of what her trip to New York was going to look like. It was going to be one where she could go to client meetings and then go out and have fun, and she wouldn't have to be stuck spending 30 minutes commuting out to her Airbnb in Brooklyn and then back into Manhattan over and over. She had this vision, and that's what was in her head when she was looking for a backpack. So it was that motivation. It was that she had a trip coming up and she wanted her trip to look this certain way that really pushed her to start shopping and make this purchase. So let's apply this across a sample marketing funnel here. So the RACE framework stands for reach, attract, convince, educate. So reach is gonna be your top of funnel stuff. This is your ads. This is your PR if you do PR. It's sponsorships, it's conferences, it's online forums, communities, social media. It's wherever people are. It's wherever you are, where you just want people to find out that you exist. You want to come across their radar. So in reach, we can get a lot more targeted in finding the Melanies in the world if we know that this is the situation that was happening in her life. Because think about if we work for Everlane, right, and we're trying to sell this backpack to the Melanies of the world, if we know that, okay, we've got this demographic, we have this person in their late 20s, early 30s, they work in a fast-moving like tech job, they do a lot of traveling, we can actually get really, really targeted when it comes to developing our ad strategy. So maybe we could develop a strategy specifically designed to show only to people who have indicated that they're going to take a trip of some kind. Like maybe there's an industry conference coming up and we want to target only people who've marked on a Facebook account that they're going to be attending that event. Then suddenly we can start playing this, we can start appealing to this idea of you're going to have to switch between work and social all the time. You're not going to want to deal with the hassle of changing your look. We can start targeting people who are probably feeling the same struggle Melanie felt before her trip in our reach area of our campaign. So we can get really, really specific about not only who we're targeting, not just the surface demographic, not just the surface data, but also the contextual data. Also, what's happening in their lives right now that where we can meet them at that struggle. So we've talked through reach. Attract is the content that you're developing over time to get people, interested in what you have to say. Your blog or your newsletter or your webinars, your nurture campaigns. It's the things that make people over time say, yeah, I like what this brand has to say. I like what these people do. They help me get stuff done in my life, or they bring me some kind of value. Wistia, I know Joanna used Wistia in her presentation as well. So Wistia does a great job of this from a jobs to be done perspective, because their entire content strategy is to create a giant library of resources that teach people, customers or not customers, how to succeed with business video. And think how smart this is, because if Wistia is a video host platform, the first thing that a person needs before they need video hosting is videos, right? They have to have some videos that they're gonna put on that platform. And if they're gonna make a lot of those videos, they have to know those videos are doing something. They have to know those videos are helping their business in some way. So by creating a content library that solves a previous struggle in their customer's journey, the struggle of how do I make business video work so it makes me money? By solving that problem, they get potential customers one step closer to buying Wistia. Because suddenly, if someone has been reading the Wistia blog for months and has been getting really awesome with their business video and they're seeing results, they're improving conversions, then they're gonna be making more videos. And guess what? They're gonna need more Wistia space. So this is a brilliant strategy as far as providing content that helps your customers solve a problem and brings them closer to buying your product. So that's the attract part of our race framework here. And then convince is why we're all really here today. Convince is your landing page copy, it's your website copy. It's the words that Joanna is a master at, the stuff that makes people go from point A, take action, and arrive at point B. So convince is gonna be your hero section. It's gonna be the body copy on your landing pages. It's gonna be the buttons, it's gonna be all that kind of stuff. And speaking to your customer's struggle, when it comes like their job, speaking to their job on your landing pages or on your home pages is a surefire way to get people feeling like you have the answer to what they're looking for. Talia, I know like really our methodologies completely overlap here. We pretty much just use different vocabulary, but emotional targeting is exactly what you do when you understand someone's job to be done and you use that in your copy. So this is Basecamp, their project management software. And if you Google project management software, typically you will find home pages that say things like, we can help you manage your business. Like, so what? Basecamp is constantly testing new emotional messaging, and they're always speaking to their customer's job to be done. So in this scenario, Basecamp is designed for small businesses who are starting to grow, and they're feeling this pain of growth. All their systems are breaking down. And so they need something more robust to manage all their projects. So grow without the growing pains, that's perfect. We've got that better life. Remember in that 3 blank sentence, the so I can is the better life. Help me is get past the struggle. Where did we go? So grow is that struggle, or sorry, grow is that better life. The person who's gonna be buying Basecamp wants to have a better, more fully grown business without the growing pains involved, without all the junk, all of everything that this graphic is showing. So this is a perfect example of speaking to a customer's job to be done in your copy, in that convince section of your funnel. Finally, there's educate. This is the part of the funnel where someone has already been convinced to convert on whatever element they need. So if that's a website, if that's your landing page, if it's the sign up portion of an app, like if you run a software company, then we're talking about the sign up flow or the in-app messages that they get. Maybe it's a series of onboarding emails, whether you sell a product or whether you sell a service. If you run an e-commerce company, maybe this is the abandonment emails that you send to someone in order to bring them back. Whatever it is, this stage, this educate stage, is where someone has trusted you and now you need to prove, hey, this is worth paying for. You are doing this right. Let's help you get to that better life right now. So a great example of a company that's doing this is my project management software. They're called BidSketch. BidSketch has this as part of their onboarding email series. So it comes from Ruben, who's the founder. And the subject of this email is how to ensure your proposal closes the deal in less than 5 minutes. So Ruben knows that I'm not here. I didn't sign up for BidSketch just because I felt like playing with proposal software. I realize I need to hurry up because I'm running us over time. But Ruben knows that I'm here because I have a better life I envision. And that better life includes a lot more clients coming in a lot faster. And he's speaking to me right in this email. And this is actually an instructional email. He's teaching me a couple of steps to using the product inside this email. But look how enticing that headline is. Like, hell yeah, I want to close a deal in less than 5 minutes. I am definitely going to open this and I'm going to listen to what you have to say. So I will breeze through the last couple pieces of this. There's so much more we could go into. I would highly recommend checking out Intercom as an example of a company who's implemented jobs to be done really well. So they have about 4 key struggles or jobs that their customers hire the product for. And they actually, this took place back in like 2014. They actually built out a marketing strategy around each of those jobs. Their version of the RACE framework includes delight as well. So that's referral marketing. That's how do we get people sharing Intercom with others. But the short version is that they, instead of one lumped together marketing strategy, they created these 4 very targeted ones around their customers' key struggles. And this was the growth they saw from the time they began to the time that Matt, who's the head of marketing there, gave a presentation on this exact process. So this is their growth. It's about 5 times growth over time in the number of unique visitors to their website. And this is the number of signups that was growing along with it, which is an awesome indicator that this worked really well for them and that they totally nailed it when it came to figuring out what customers' jobs were and speaking to those jobs in their marketing. You can check out that blog post where Matt gives this full presentation at this link. Again, I gotta hurry myself up here, but it's a really, really fascinating read and watch. He's got the video as well. So when it comes to finding out what your customers' jobs are, this is the tricky part. And I wanna really dive into this, but I know that I need to kind of abbreviate it. The short version is that it involves actually asking people, actually talking to your customers. And so someone asked earlier, why don't we just ask Melanie why she bought the backpack? And just outright asking people doesn't always work super well because people like to give their opinions. And opinions aren't really that helpful here. And no one does that on purpose. Like if you ask your customer, hey, why did you buy this from us? They're not going to lie to you intentionally. It's just that we as humans are not very good at unpacking our deeper motivations. We're not very good at doing that just by recalling them from memory. So just asking someone, why did you buy from us? Or what do you think about this product? Or we have an idea for this new product. What do you think about it? Asking questions that prompt opinion. We buy on emotion and explain with logic. Talia, yes. We try to explain why we did something with logic, but it's never the actual reason that we bought it. So instead, you want to ask questions that will help you get a documentary of what was happening in your customers' lives before they found out about you and made a purchase. So there's some really great questions for that. I have a list of about 25 of those questions, but we'll just go through a handful of them. And at the end, on the final slide, I'll give you the link, and if you'd like to download the rest, you totally can. So instead of feedback-oriented questions or opinion-oriented questions like, do you think you would buy blah, 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 or why did you buy our product? Instead, try things like, take me back to life before. We'll use the Roomba example again, just so we can fill in these blanks. So if someone was interviewing me, a great thing to start with would be, take me back to life before you bought that Roomba. You know, what was going on? What was happening in life at that point? And then instead of saying, oh, I bought the Roomba because I needed a way to vacuum faster, I could say, well, at that time, I was just starting my own business and I was stressed out all the time because I was having to manage a totally different type of work schedule, you know? And you could start unpacking what was really painful, what I was struggling with. To prompt me along, you could say things like, what compelled you to start looking for something different? then I can start telling you that story. What was the actual moment in life that made me go, you know what? This is stupid. We don't need to keep using this broom. Let's buy a Roomba. Anyway, so yes, the URL is at the very end. I'll just pop it up here right now because I know we need to run. But if you go to loveyourcustomers.co/getuplift, you can download all this stuff. I'm going to leave that up there for a second. Yep. And if there's anywhere else, I don't know if I should put that somewhere, but I'll leave this screen up in a second. Essentially, to wrap things up, the short version is that you want to be asking questions that help you find the story. And I know that we are pretty much at the end of time. So I'm so sorry to have like what am I trying to say? I'm so sorry to have not like finished this in a graceful way. But I know we have a lot of other people.
I feel like I've been through such an amazing workshop right now. And you're so right. Like our methodologies are just perfect for each other. It's pretty much the same. We're both saying the same thing. Talk to your customers, understand their pain, understand, what they're looking for. And there's so many different ways you can do that. And I love it. So, I mean, we will be sharing the recording. We will be sharing the presentation and everything. So don't worry about that, guys. We do have to.
We definitely have to move.
Into the because Michael Lagarde is waiting for us to critique some landing pages. But we will send you all the links and everything. And I'm
also if you have questions, because we need to get to Michael right now. Here's me on Twitter, and I've just put it in the chat. You can just ask me short things there. All right.
Awesome.
All right. I'll let things move on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Wow. And I'm going to be pulling everyone else into the next session.
All right. See you guys there.